Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to Money Matters. As we bid a less than fond farewell to 2020, we turn to 2021 with hope that with the release of COVID vaccines, life, the economy, and our investments will return to normal as well. Douglas George spoke with a few forecasters for their views of the year to come.
The hope of the vaccines has influenced the outlook for the economy, business, and trade. Three factors will influence Hong Kong's recovery in the year ahead. The diminishing impact of the coronavirus will ease the restrictions on people and commerce that has strangled the SAR's economic growth. And the transition to a Biden-led White House will reduce tensions on the trade front. The trading sector did suffer in 2020, but not as bad as forecasters expected. It demonstrated great flexibility in switching products, changing markets, and adding to different content of value to avoid the tariffs imposed by the U.S.
70% of our export is electronics, but it's hard to tell what kind of electronics these days because electronics are everywhere. Even in your eyeglass, in your toys, everything is electronics. Sometimes people say smart, make it smart, and then you can sell. Again, what is smart is difficult to argue. But what we see is that the traditional electronic goods, because of the pandemic, make a huge rebound because everybody now cannot talk to each other, meet each other. They have to use the electronics to communicate.
The council asked exporters what will they do to drive greater growth in 2021. They answered they would reduce their dependence on the large markets of the U.S. and Europe by finding new markets, and they would compete on price.
To some extent, that's not a good sign in the sense that now they are stopping looking for markets. They have to stick with the old one, but compete on price. But the fact that we can compete on price as well as quality, in the other sense, still tells that there are room for people to play around with.
Kwan says for those looking for an improvement in economic numbers, they'll be satisfied. Exports will bounce back from a nearly 4% decline in 2020.
It hits so many fundamental factors of our economy, our social everything, all aspects. Yet, because of the low base we have built, make it simple like export. Seldom we have 2 consecutive years of export decline like what we have this and the previous years. So once you have down for so much, it's much easier for you to rebound a little bit once things get normalized. Yeah. So that's why we predict next year's export growth could easily get to 5%, if not more.
And a panel of economists says the SAR will see overall economic expansion recover to 4.6%. On the investment front, forecasters are cautiously optimistic on the global economy. The World Bank predicts GDP will reach 4.1%. Risk-seeking behavior could increase in 2021.
There are 2 markets that we favor. That is the US large cap market and over the longer term for global investors, Chinese equities. So US large caps and China are markets that we believe should feature prominently in the long-term allocation for investors.
The equity markets were sustained last year by stimulus. While that will continue in 2021, the market will eventually return to earnings as the focus of investors. The U.S. and China offer the most potential for positive earnings growth. A return to a more autonomous economy also depends on the wider rollout of vaccines towards the middle of the year. Anderson says the China investment theme going into 2021 is the same as the theme going into last year: domestic consumption and technology.
There's a kind of macro thematic there that we appeal to. In China, of course, we're continuing to see a growing middle class. So sectors, for example, that benefit from that: online education, for example, e-commerce in the technology space. There is still space in a kind of increasingly digitized China for disruption and market leaders to emerge that generate that good long-term sustainable growth that we're looking for in terms of creating the resiliency through 2021.
Beijing's new policy of dual circulation, of expanding domestic consumption, will continue to support these companies. There is the risk that China's continued digitization could be vulnerable to trade tensions. But these tensions won't get any worse with the demise of the Trump administration.
You have to be somewhat cautious. Some of those stocks in that sector are perhaps going to be buffeted by external tensions. So, for example, geopolitical competitive tensions. However, that sector of technology is one where we see some stocks that we think are going to again be able to create the type of resilient earnings that we would look for in this environment.
Another investment advisor believes 2021 will see sustainable investing, or ESG, break out of its niche space into the mainstream. Demand has increased as environmentally conscious investors have more funds to choose from after new funds were launched. Global ESG investment topped $1 trillion for the first time.
We're also seeing regulatory developments gathering pace as well. In Europe, obviously, the leader in ESG investing globally, they have this sustainable finance action plan, which really aims to direct capital into more sustainable investing, changing investor behavior in that process. And then locally in Asia, for instance, in Hong Kong, the Securities and Futures Commission also launched a website showing ESG-related funds that meet its requirements. So their regulations catching up locally in Asia as well.
ESG investment funds have shown more strength as the global funds universe has weakened. Sustainable fund assets slipped 12% as of the end of March 2020, but the wider global fund universe slipped 18%. And ESG funds in Asia were 21% higher in the same period. Also, while global funds saw an outflow of almost $400 billion, ESG assets saw a $45 billion inflow, partly driven by the new fund launches. China has become increasingly important in global financial markets, even as the current occupant in the White House has taken aim at a few mainland companies listed in the U.S. Chinese equities now dominate the emerging market indices, forcing investors to take the onshore A-share market more seriously.
ETF is certainly an option. There are a number of ETFs that are listed locally here in Hong Kong. There are also mutual funds available to investors. And in terms of China, Asia specifically, we believe it probably makes better sense to invest in an actively managed fund as opposed to an ETF. Just because there is so much alpha potential for higher return than an index can provide in a relatively inefficient market such as China.
As investors wait for their COVID jabs in 2021, it's worth noting that decisions about what to put into your portfolio be governed by a healthy dose of caution, at least until the end of the first half.
The Hong Kong Brands and Products Expo is being held online instead of the usual venue at Victoria Park. The online event will last until January 20th. There are 160 participating exhibitors, down from the some 400 exhibitors in the last one. The online version of the expo is based on the actual one, with the event virtually divided into 6 thematic zones, including the food and beverages zone. Shoppers who spend $800 or more will enjoy free shipping. U.S. industrial production increased 0.4% in November, with manufacturing receiving a boost from a rebound in output at auto plants after 3 months of declines. The November gain followed an even stronger 0.9% increase in October. Even with the gains, output is still about 5% below its level in February before the pandemic hit. Manufacturing was up 0.8% in November, its 7th consecutive monthly gain, with last month's increase boosted by a rebound in auto production. A vast globalized industry of low-cost social media manipulation service providers continues to flourish, distorting both commerce and politics. That's according to a new investigation by researchers from the NATO Strategic Communications Center of Excellence. They paid just €300 for hundreds of thousands of fake likes, views and shares of posts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and TikTok. The researchers said, while Twitter and Facebook have made improvements, TikTok appeared defenseless. The Federal Reserve will keep buying government bonds until the economy makes substantial progress, a step intended to reassure financial markets and keep long-term borrowing rates low. The Fed also said after its latest policy meeting, it will keep its short-term benchmark interest rates pegged near zero. The Fed has kept its key rate there since March, when it took a range of extraordinary steps to fight the pandemic recession. Fed officials painted a brighter picture of the economy next year compared with its last projections in September. The improvements reflect the expected impact of the new coronavirus vaccines.
Coming up on Money Matters, American classic interior design meets Tuen Mun living. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. For homeowners who prefer American classic design, Hong Kong can be challenging. The oversized style can be a tight fit for Hong Kong flats. In this week's interior design segment, Alice Kwan speaks to a designer who says she's solved the problem. Let's take a look. A couple bought this generously sized 1,400 square foot flat in an estate in Tuen Mun. The building is located on a mountaintop and enjoys a sea view. The flat has 4 bedrooms, a large living room, and a dining area. The homeowner favors a contemporary look with a relaxed, comfortable living space, so the interior designer styled it in what she calls American Classic. American Classic has some similarities to English and European styles, but it avoids clutter and busyness in favor of simplicity and comfort.
For the classic style, because for the French classic style, you will look more complicated, but the American luxury style, they don't have too complicated like the molding or the lines, so they will look more simple and less decorative.
Regina says all the furniture in this apartment is typical of American classic style.
They still have the details on the furniture. For the edge of marble tabletop, they have the line around the marble because they want to show more the details. And the table stand, they wrap the leather with the stitches because the stitches can show more details for the pattern and they will look more classical. The back of the chairs, they have the same stitches to create a pattern, and that's not it's less decorative and elaborate.
Antique yet functional decorative pieces, such as the side table with a carved wooden stand, adds to the American classic vibe.
Because sometimes the spiral shape will be look more classic, yes, it will look more interesting because you like have a big contrast for this piece of the furniture.
This oakwood display cabinet can serve as a storage place for decorative items. The copper-plated door frame and the metal feet create a vintage feel in the dining area. The light stand in the master bedroom includes storage space in a drawer. This brass handle is plated to give it a special antique finish, and the surface of the light stand has a vintage look. These pieces are both classic and functional, providing much sought-after and often elusive storage in a Hong Kong flat. Oversized furniture is another element of American classic style. And even though the apartment is spacious, the original layout couldn't fit the large pieces.
Regina, what sort of changes you have made this layout?
The major changes is original here is a wall, and this area is a corridor. Because the dining table is not enough space for the large dining table, so I increased the space here and put it down the wall and increase here around 3 feet wide. Then I can make it the dining area look more spacious. And also here, I use the same material to create a whole piece of wall because I want to have like a one piece of wall, and also I create the storage behind this wall. And Alice, do you guess here? What is that inside?
Another cabinet. Oh, it's a bathroom.
Yes, this design is look more aesthetic.
In the master bedroom, the king-sized bed takes up a lot of space. Regina needed to create space for a large wardrobe. So she knocked down the wall of the daughter's bedroom.
The original wall is here, and because my client requests to have more storage for the master bedroom, so I put it down the wall and have more space here, then I create a wardrobe. And for the master bedroom. After I put down the wall from the daughter's room and create more space for the master bedroom, then here, now the original wall from the daughter's room, I also put it down because I want to create more space for daughter's room can have a wardrobe.
On the other side of the wardrobe in the living room, Regina made a large marble wall panel for the TV. Traditionally, American classic interiors look and feel comfortable and relaxed. Regina used a warm color theme throughout the apartment to create this feeling.
Mainly, I used the warm tone color, like the beige color, the brown, and the yellow, and gold. And this all is look more harmony and comfortable and natural.
A wooden display cabinet, brown sofa, and beige wallpaper on this side of the living room create a feeling of comfort. But she also used cool colors to create a contrast and make items pop from the background.
The TV backdrop, I used the gray tone for the main feature because the gray tone color is a cool color. So they will have a contrast for the living area. Even the cushion, I also choose with the pattern, have the light gray and the light brown because I want to consistent the whole design and also it's look more interesting. The carpet have like a light gray and the light brown with some gold color for the touch-up.
The gray, blue, and dark brown colors in the master bedroom are consistent with the rest of the flat. Regina used this piece to brighten up the room.
I create the shape in the curved shape for this panel because I want to look more decorative, and also I use the stainless steel with the mirror finish. It's look more luxury too.
The homeowner has 3 young children. Regina created 3 distinct themes for each of their bedrooms.
Hi Alice, here is the boys' room.
Oh, the panel is a mountain shape. Where did you get the inspiration?
The inspiration is from the outside. You see there's a mountain and have a sea view, so nice. So I create a mountain shape and in the green color for the panel. And here, the wall, I use the blue color for the more natural feel. And also there is a sea view, so I use the blue color for design the wall panel and with the aircraft and look more natural and comfortable.
Here, it looks like a roof.
Oh yes, because I want to create more interesting for the boy, so I create a house shape, and here is the bed here, so they will look like sleeping under the sky, and also here have the cloud shape lighting.
For the girls' room, the color is mainly pink, and the decorations more feminine. The ceiling light is crown-shaped. Back in the dining room, the wall is decorated with a vibrant colored panel. But the panel also serves a functional purpose. It covers a window overlooking the unpleasant sight of the backyard of the building. And to light things up, the metal chandelier adds a bit of bling to the classic atmosphere of the dining room.
Not exactly the ice bucket challenge, but this Canadian challenge is very icy. All the best icy stuff is Canadian. After pouring cold water over the idea to light themselves on fire to warm up, these 2 kids, obviously bored with their snowy virus isolation, took the plunge to play a game of chess. Hypothermia to bishop 5. Their parents warned if they didn't come inside right away, they'd be on thin ice. With no major breakthroughs, the duo played to a thaw. It's noon in Estonia. These swimmers figure it's a nice day for a dip, safely of course. With little hope of travel to warm beaches amid the pandemic, thousands of Estonians have taken up swimming in a near freezing pool by the Baltic Sea.
Let's say from spring until now.
This doctor and man who wasn't told to bring a bathing suit says immersing oneself into freezing cold water can produce a kind of euphoria. That's Greek for, are you nuts immersing yourself in freezing cold water? The reward for finishing a lap is a long soak in the hot tub, which is the new sauna.
I love it.
This couple, and pair trying to imitate festive trees and fireworks, say the water was freezing, but they were, like, cool with it. The fan base thinks this behavior is typically Estonian. Careful, there's no glacial profiling allowed at the pool. China's northernmost city of Mohe, in Heilongjiang, which means ice cube breathing dragon, saw its temperature plummet to minus 44.3 degrees Celsius, the lowest since, just a couple of days ago. Tourists eager to witness this snowy land arrived and tried to throw the snow back. As the morning rush hour traffic slipped into high gear, tourists carved their own hotel rooms. Iced eyeliner? You never heard of icicles? Why did they come here? Hell was booked solid. The tourist trade really heats up this time of year. This one, an man or woman pretending to be thrilled with the coldest place in China, wants to say something, but the thought has slipped his/her mind, and now it's frozen in the snow. We'll have to wait till next spring to hear what he/she thought. Local tourist officials always say, wear a scarf, it's cold. Locals say, yeah, but it's a dry cold. Cold jokes. It's enough to make your freezer jealous. Cold jokes. Even the geese are wearing down jackets. Cold jokes. Now you look forward to getting a fever just to warm up. Cold jokes.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. Next week on Money Matters, fashion and the craft of tailoring. Get a 21st century upgrade. See you then.